Planning a trip to Italy? You'll fall in love with the pasta, the piazzas, the history, but there's one thing you won't love: the scams. Yep, even in the land of gelato and gondolas, some people see tourists as walking ATMs. In this video, I'll walk you through 14 of the most common tourist scams in Italy, from sneaky street tricks to overpriced traps, so you can spot them before they spot you. And I'll tell you exactly how to avoid each one. And trust me, there's one scam on this list that happens right inside some restaurants, and you probably won't even realize it until you check your bill. Scam number 1, the friendship bracelet. Someone walks up to you in Rome, smiles, and offers a free gift, usually a bracelet. The moment it's on your wrist, they demand payment. Tip: just keep walking. The friendship bracelet scam in Italy is a common tourist scam where scammers approach visitors with friendly conversation and then offer a gift, usually a cheap friendship bracelet, by tying it around their wrist without permission. Once the bracelet is on the tourist's wrist, the scammer demands payment, often becoming persistent or aggressive if the tourist refuses. The idea behind the scam is to create a sense of obligation or guilt, making tourists feel they should pay for the gift. This scam often takes place in highly touristic areas such as Rome's historic center, near monuments, or popular spots like Castel Sant'Angelo or the Colosseum. The scammers use friendly banter to lower tourists' defenses, sometimes talking about the tourist's home country or telling sob stories to elicit sympathy and money. A significant risk is that the bracelet can be tied on tightly, making it difficult to remove, which pressures tourists even more into paying. In some cases, while the victim is distracted by the scam, accomplices may attempt pickpocketing. Locals recommend totally ignoring these scammers to avoid being targeted, as even responding or making eye contact can encourage the scammers to pursue you. If a bracelet is forcibly put on you, the best action is to drop or push it away immediately before the scammer can secure it. Tourists are advised to be firm, say no, and walk away without engaging to avoid falling victim to the scam. In essence, the friendship bracelet scam in Italy thrives on tourists' natural politeness and embarrassment, and exploits this by turning a gift into an extorted payment. Scam number 2, fake petition. Often run by groups pretending to be from charities. They'll ask you to sign something, then hit you up for a donation, while an accomplice eyes your bag. Scammers approach tourists in busy tourist areas holding clipboards or pieces of paper that look like official petitions for charitable causes such as helping disabled, homeless, or orphan children. They may also pose as deaf or mute individuals to gain sympathy. Tourists are asked to sign the petition, which is actually fake or not official. After signing, the scammer then aggressively solicits a donation, often suggesting minimum amounts like €10 to $20. If the tourist hesitates or refuses, the scammer may guilt trip, pressure, or even intimidate them. While engaging the tourist in this fake petition interaction, accomplices sometimes pickpocket belongings. The petition holder might also use the clipboard to cover theft of items like phones or wallets from tables at cafes. The petitions often look very official, sometimes bearing real charity logos, but the money never goes to any legitimate cause. The petition might even be in English, which is suspicious in non-English speaking countries and indicates targeting foreign tourists. Scammers often do not take no for an answer and may follow tourists, escalate their demands, or call for help from others to pressure you into donating. Simply refuse politely but firmly and walk away without engaging. Be aware that legitimate charities typically do not solicit tourists on the street in this way, and official petitions usually target local residents. Keep your belongings secure, especially in crowded tourist spots or when sitting at outdoor cafes. In essence, the fake petition scam in Italy is considered a tourist scam because it uses a false pretense of charity to trick tourists into giving money while sometimes enabling theft, making it a manipulative and dishonest practice targeting visitors' generosity and distraction. Scam number 3, overpriced taxis from airports. In cities like Rome or Milan, unofficial taxi drivers might approach you with a special deal. Take only official white taxis with fixed rates. This typically happens when tourists, unfamiliar with local taxi rules and pricing, accept rides outside official taxi stands. especially at airports where drivers may aggressively offer rides or quote fixed prices that are disproportionate to the legitimate fare. These drivers approach tourists directly, offering rides at inflated prices without legitimate meters or proper licensing. Visitors often do not know the correct flat rates or official taxi stands at airports, making it easy for scammers to deceive them. Taxi drivers or imposters quote fixed prices that are much higher than metered rates, sometimes 300 to 400% above normal fares. For example, charges of €60 or more from Rome's Fiumicino Airport to the city center are asked despite a €45 official flat fare. Some legitimate white taxis might refuse to turn on the meter or claim special surcharges to inflate prices, taking advantage of confused tourists. Scammers may add bogus charges for luggage or other surcharges that are not part of official rates. To avoid such scams, tourists should always use official taxi stands at airports where taxis are white, have a visible meter, license, and a posted price list. To avoid such scams, tourists should always use official taxi stands at airports where taxis are white, have a visible meter, license, and a posted price list. Check the official flat fares for airport rides beforehand, usually posted at the taxi ranks or on airport websites. Avoid accepting rides from unofficial drivers who approach you outside the stand. Insist that the meter is turned on if the ride is not a flat fare service. Use official taxi apps like FreeNow or WeTaxi as alternatives to street hailing. These scams can create a frustrating and negative first impression of Italy for tourists, but are avoidable by following local taxi regulations and being aware of common exploit tactics. In summary, overpriced airport taxis are a tourist scam in Italy because they prey on visitors' unfamiliarity with official taxi rules, use fixed inflated fares, and deploy unauthorized drivers to extract excessive payments. Scam number 4, the helpful luggage guy. At train stations, someone grabs your bag to help, then demands money. Or worse, they walk off with it. The scam works by a man approaching tourists and offering to carry or wheel their luggage for them, often appearing friendly and helpful. However, once the luggage is taken, he demands an exorbitant fee far higher than a reasonable tip, sometimes causing intimidation or pressure to pay much more than expected. Tourists often feel compelled to pay to avoid a confrontation or losing their bags. This scam exploits tourists who may be tired, unfamiliar with the area, or want to be polite by accepting help. Official porters with trolleys generally no longer exist, so anyone offering to carry bags is likely trying to scam you. The key is that travelers can easily manage their own bags, so the help is unnecessary and is set up to extract money forcefully. In sum, the helpful luggage guy scam is a ruse where scammers pose as helpful porters, trick tourists into letting them handle luggage, and then demand excessive payment. Being aware and politely refusing unsolicited help with luggage can help avoid this scam. Scam number 5, bird seed in the piazza. In Venice or Milan, a guy hands you bird seed to feed pigeons. 2 minutes later, bam, he's charging you €10. Once the tourists accept and feed the pigeons, these scammers aggressively demand payment for the seed, often at an excessive price. Tourists feel pressured to pay to avoid confrontation, despite the birdseed usually being of negligible cost. This scam works because the vendor often forces the birdseed into the tourist's hand before the tourist can decline, creating a sense of obligation to pay. This scam is common in crowded tourist hotspots with many pigeons, where scammers use human psychology like pressure and surprise to trap tourists into paying. The incident often includes the vendor speaking perfect English suddenly, demanding money after initially appearing helpful or friendly. Tour guides and some local police recognize this as a scam, and such activities are illegal, but enforcement can be limited, so tourists need to be alert. The scam artists offer birdseed for free to feed pigeons. Tourists are coerced into accepting it, sometimes not given a real choice. After pigeons come to feed, the scammers demand payment aggressively. Tourists often pay out of discomfort or fear of confrontation. It is an illegal scam, but still common in tourist-heavy piazzas in Italy. To avoid this scam, It is recommended to decline any offers to feed pigeons from unofficial vendors or walk away if approached. Scam number 6. ATM fee traps. Some ATMs charge outrageous withdrawal fees, use machines inside banks, and decline currency conversion. These ATMs tend to be outside major banks, sometimes in tourist-heavy areas, souvenir shops, or side street locations. Tourists unfamiliar with local banking norms and ATM networks often use these machines and end up paying very high fees. Additionally, some machines might be less secure, increasing the risk of card data theft through skimming devices. Many ATMs placed in tourist areas charge insane or very high withdrawal fees, not always clearly warned before the transaction. Tourists may not realize the full cost until after withdrawing. ATMs outside major banks or post offices are more suspect. Post office ATMs tend to be safer and often do not charge withdrawal fees, unlike some private or smaller bank ATMs in tourist spots. Card skimming scams involve fraudsters installing devices on ATM card slots to steal card information, which is used for unauthorized withdrawals later. Such skimming devices are harder to detect on unmonitored or rarely checked ATMs common in tourist areas. The cash trapping scam is another threat where a device blocks dispense bills, making the ATM appear to not have paid out money, and the scammer later retrieves the trapped cash. Tourist-targeted ATM scams and fees exploit unfamiliarity and the need for cash on the go, often combined with poor signage or warnings about fees, making tourists vulnerable. To avoid these scams, travelers are advised to use ATMs inside banks or post offices, avoid suspicious or isolated machines, and check fees before withdrawing. Travel guides warn against using ATMs that appear targeted exclusively at tourists, such as those near major landmarks or souvenir shops. In summary, the ATM fee trap scam in Italy takes advantage of tourists by imposing excessive fees and potential security risks on cash withdrawals at less trustworthy ATMs, making it a common and costly tourist scam. Scam number 7. Overcharging in restaurants. This one's sneaky: restaurants adding service fees that aren't on the menu, or charging for bread you didn't order. Always check the menu and your bill. A typical scenario involves tourists being served more expensive dishes or additional items they did not order, such as a large platter of seafood, appetizers, or drinks that are added without clear consent. When tourists question the bill, restaurants often insist the charges are legitimate and refuse refunds, sometimes claiming the guests consumed larger portions than they believe they did. This can be exacerbated by unclear or non-transparent menus, which might have hidden service charges, cover charges, coperto, or automatic tips that disproportionately affect foreigners. These scams target tourists partly because they are less familiar with local pricing norms, may not speak Italian fluently, and might feel pressured not to argue about the bill. Also, some restaurants deliberately add high service fees or charge for items like bread or table settings without clear prior notice. Reviews and complaints often accumulate on platforms like TripAdvisor, highlighting these issues and naming specific restaurants accused of these practices. In summary, overcharging in Italian restaurants happens because some establishments take advantage of tourists' unfamiliarity and language barriers, lack of clear menu pricing, and the inconsistency of service charges, making it a known tourist scam in Italy. Scam number 8. Pickpockets on public transport. Rome's metro and Florence buses are hotspots. Keep bags zipped and in front of you. They use tactics like creating commotions or physical distractions to divert attention while stealing wallets, phones, or other valuables, targeting tourists who may be less alert or unfamiliar with local risks. In addition to pickpocketing, some cities like Florence and Pisa have reports of systematic scams involving transit staff who exploit tourists by pretending ticket machines or card payment options don't work, then imposing fines for supposed ticket violations. These operations deliberately target tourists unfamiliar with the local transit ticket validation rules, effectively extorting money under false pretenses. Key reasons why pickpocketing on public transport is a prevalent tourist scam in Italy include: public transport is often crowded and chaotic, making it easier to distract victims. Tourists tend to be less vigilant, distracted by travel or sightseeing. Pickpockets are skilled at blending in and using distraction techniques. Some scams involve collusion or groups working together to trick and steal. Language barriers and unfamiliar ticketing systems make tourists more vulnerable, especially in cities like Florence. Protective measures include staying alert, keeping belongings close and secure, e.g., using crossbody bags or money belts, avoiding back pockets, and buying/validating tickets ahead of time from official vendors to avoid transit staff scams. Scam number 9. Fake police ID. Someone in plain clothes flashes a badge and asks to see your wallet for inspection. Real police won't do this. They stop tourists citing security checks such as looking for counterfeit money or fraudulent activity, and then ask to inspect bags, wallets, or IDs. During this process, they either steal cash or skim credit card details, sometimes disappearing afterwards. This scam exploits the fact that in Italy, real police officers can legally ask for ID, so tourists may feel compelled to comply and not realize the deceit until it is too late. Tourists should be aware that real Italian police do ask to see ID, but will never request banking information or credit card details on the street. To avoid this scam, it is advised to ask to see the officer's official identification or offer to go to the nearest police station to resolve any issues rather than cooperating on the street. Carrying receipts for purchases can also be helpful, as real police or tax officials might ask for these. In summary, the fake police ID scam is common in Italy's major cities like Rome and Sicily, targeting tourists by exploiting their unfamiliarity with local police procedures and the obligation to show ID, leading to potential theft or fraud during bogus security checks. Scam number 10. The overpriced gelato cone. They'll offer you a cone, then weigh it or claim it's special and charge 15 euros. Always ask the price first. These vendors often hide or omit price lists, leading unsuspecting tourists to pay far more than what gelato typically costs in Italy. This practice exploits tourists who may be unfamiliar with local pricing customs and unable to verify costs before purchasing. Additional factors contributing to the scam include tourists being charged for gelato based solely on vague claims like, because it is so tasty, without any formal pricing explanation or option to refuse excess charges. Gelaterias near major tourist spots hiding or obscuring prices, creating a poor impression and fostering distrust among visitors. Tourists often can't return uneaten gelato, leaving them forced to pay the inflated price once billed. Moreover, some gelaterias offer gelato that does not appear authentic, with bright, artificial colors and flavors, indicating lower quality or mass-produced products designed to lure tourists with eye-catching visuals, but lacking traditional quality. This undermines the authentic Italian gelato experience and can leave tourists feeling both cheated and disappointed. In summary, the overpriced gelato cone scam in Italy combines hidden or inflated pricing with poor product authenticity, targeting tourists unfamiliar with standard gelato prices and traditions, especially in popular tourist areas. Scam number 11. Luggage storage hustle. Unofficial places charge double or more. Use official deposito bagagli at stations. The scam involves the porter initially seeming friendly and helpful, but at the end of the service, they pressure tourists into paying large sums of money, sometimes 25 to 55 euros or more, regardless of the short distance or effort involved. Tourists often feel obliged to pay to avoid confrontation or because they were unprepared for such a demand. Many travelers report that they could have easily carried their bags themselves, indicating the service is unnecessary and exploitative. This scam preys on the confusion and stress tourists experience when navigating unfamiliar and busy transport hubs. Many travelers are unaware of it beforehand because hotels or taxi drivers do not warn them. The problem is compounded by the lack of official oversight or enforcement against such hustlers in busy tourist areas. In summary, the luggage storage hustle is a scam because it exploits tourist trust and willingness to accept help for convenience, then extorts large fees without prior agreement or transparency. Scam number 12. The lost ring trick. Someone finds a gold ring, offers it to you, then asks for a reward. It's fake. The scammer then pressures you to give them some money in exchange for the ring, often using emotional stories or pretending hardships to make you feel obliged to pay. This trick dupes tourists into paying for something essentially worthless. Key elements of the scam include: the scammer finds a ring they placed on the ground. They approach the tourist, showing the ring and insisting it belongs to them. They offer the ring for a small amount of money, emphasizing good luck, religion, or hardship to convince you. The ring looks like a gold men's wedding band, but is cheap brass or another fake material. The scammer's goal is to get a few euros from the tourist in exchange for the worthless ring. This scam is widespread in Italy's tourist areas like Rome, Florence, and Milan due to the high volume of travelers likely to be unfamiliar and more trusting of such gestures. It preys on generosity, surprise, and the hope of luck or gain, making it an effective but dishonest way to trick tourists. In summary, the lost ring trick is a scam because the ring is fake and the deal to buy it is a con to extract money from tourists under false pretenses. Tourists should be wary of anyone suddenly offering jewelry on the street, especially if pressured to pay. Scam number 13, restaurant menu switch. They show you a cheap menu outside, then give you a different, more expensive one once you sit down. This can lead to tourists unknowingly paying inflated prices, especially if they accept menus in their own language instead of asking for the Italian menu, where prices tend to be more reasonable and consistent. Waiters may also pressure or trick tourists into ordering more expensive items or add hidden charges like high service fees or coperto cover charges, not clearly stated or justified on the menu. Tourists are given a foreign language menu with higher prices than the Italian menu offered to locals. Service fees or cover charges can appear mysteriously or be disproportionately high, especially targeting foreigners. Staff may aggressively lure tourists inside and push expensive items or services. Lack of clear price listings or unlawful charges in some regions, like Pani Coperto, bread and cover charge, in Rome, which is illegal if not properly disclosed. To avoid falling victim, it's advised to insist on the Italian menu. Check all prices and small print carefully. Avoid restaurants with menus in many foreign languages displayed prominently outside. And be cautious of overly friendly or pushy waiters. Scam number 14, street performers with a cover charge. You watch, you clap, and suddenly someone blocks your way asking for money before you can leave. The street performers with a cover charge scam in Italy is considered a tourist scam because these performers often mislead tourists by initially suggesting their performance or photo opportunity is free or low cost, then demanding an unexpectedly high fee afterward. Tourists may be told, for example, that taking photos with the performers or their props costs a small amount, like €3, but after the photos are taken, they are charged much more, example, €30, sometimes aggressively pressured to pay. This practice takes advantage of tourists' unfamiliarity with local customs and their reluctance to cause a scene or refuse payment in a foreign country. This scam is common in busy tourist areas in cities like Milan, Florence, and Rome, where street performers may also work in groups and threaten tourists by calling friends or creating an intimidating environment if payment is refused. The performers may also distract tourists during the performance to pickpocket or coerce payment under false pretenses. Local police sometimes intervene to warn tourists, but since paying the fee is technically a civil matter rather than criminal, enforcement is limited. Tourists are advised to avoid engaging with these performers, not to accept free shows or photos, and to be wary of any unexpected charge after the fact. In summary, the scam lies in the deceptive low initial cost or free offer that turns into a significant and aggressive covered charge once the tourist is engaged, making it a common form of tourist exploitation in Italy. Remember that sneaky restaurant scam I mentioned? Yep, it's the added bread and water fees, called coperto, and sometimes even a mysterious kitchen tax. Always ask about extras before you order. Now that you know how to dodge these scams, you might be wondering, where are the safe, authentic spots to eat and shop in Italy? That's exactly what I cover in my next video. The best local-only spots in Italy you'll want to bookmark. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. If you've been to Italy and spotted a scam I missed, drop it in the comments. It could save another traveler. Like this video if you found it useful, share it with your travel buddy, and I'll see you in the next one.